Grim Reaper!
My name's Will, and I'm dead. I know it's sad, but hey, a lot of awesome people are dead. It happens.
And who knows? After long work and dedication in the long run.
What long run? In the long run, we're all dead. I'm not going to die. You see, I'm into this thing where if I get sick, I mean real sick, where I'm about to go, they just take me away and freeze me.
Although he is certain to die, perhaps from a household accident, which accounts for 65% of all unnatural deaths.
All right, we did not die today. I call that an unqualified success.
You're all gonna die. What's wrong with it?
I'm dying too.
You're going to die.
Prepare to die.
Death is full of surprises, huh?
You have no idea.
Welcome to Mortality Movies. I'm your host, Gail Rubin, the doyen of death. That's death, not deaf. A doyen is a woman who's considered senior in a group and knows a lot about a particular subject. That would be me when it comes to the party no one wants to plan, a funeral or memorial service. In this TV series, there are studies that show you will remember information you see in a movie or a TV show 30% longer than you will from anybody just telling you something. So here at Mortality Movies, we show you film clips and then myself and our panel of death experts talk about it. I'm joined today by Jane Westbrook, death educator, and Kelly Sandin, spiritual counselor specializing in end of life and grief. We are going to be talking about what happens in the prep room at funeral homes in this episode. Now, if you're watching this on YouTube, just know that the film clips, if they are cleared to be shown on YouTube, will appear in links in the description box below. Our first film clip comes from a 2007 film called Just Buried. A young man who is estranged from his father inherits a funeral home in a small town and has a lot to learn about the funeral business. He's talking with the mortician, a female mortician, who works there. The interesting thing about that description of embalming, and I think this is one reason why people don't want to do funeral planning, is like that whole idea of having all of that done to your body. But that is a very accurate description. Mm-hmm. I had a funeral director in a presentation I was doing where I showed this film clip and I said, "Is this an accurate description?" And he was like, "Oh yeah." So, and I think most people would have that reaction as the young man. It's gross.
I think most people don't even think about it, the ones that choose to go that route. They have no idea what the details are of what's involved. And it's quite a process.
It is,
and
yeah.
I think that's one reason why cremation has become so much more popular. Although the descriptives of it can get kind of tricky too.
Yeah, a lot of people don't know about, the grinding of the bones. The pulverizing process.
I had a conversation with somebody who didn't know the process, and I gave just what I knew of the information, and they acted just like him. They were absolutely shocked and had chosen that was not the way to go for them. Some people don't care. They say they're dead, and it doesn't matter. This is what they want.
Yep.
So choice empowers people.
But knowing what goes on in the prep room helps give you some information. And these other film clips that we have for you today continue that insight into what goes on in the prep room at a funeral home. Our next clip is from the 2011 film Bernie, which is based on a true story of a funeral director named Bernie Tiede, who, in this clip, it's right at the very beginning of the movie, and he's giving a lesson to mortuary students about how to make the deceased look as good as possible. So funeral homes have care centers, if they're big enough, if they have multiple locations where they would send a body to get that kind of treatment. But they have some interesting tricks, you know, the glue on the eyelids and the mouth. That happens. Yeah. But in fact, in the Jewish tradition, and I am Jewish, the body is not put on display. It's considered disrespectful of the vessel that held the earthly spirit. However, my in-laws recently died, the D word, and the granddaughter of my mother-in-law's second husband wanted to see her grandpa. So we did a viewing. And in fact, we did a second viewing so that my mother-in-law could go back and take one last look at him. He wasn't embalmed. And this is an important point to know, that while a lot of funeral homes will say you can't have a viewing unless they're embalmed and made up, you can have an immediate family viewing for 30 minutes with just refrigeration. The funeral home did, you know, tidy up the facial hair and the ear and nose hair and all of that, and he looked good, you know, just laying there. So they will do that, but the family has to know about it and ask about it.
Yeah.
And not necessarily have all of that heavy-duty makeup work done. Yeah.
I talked to someone who actually does that, and she said she looks at it as almost as an art project. To when somebody is embalmed and they do the whole makeup and all of the cosmetology stuff. And she says she looks at it as an art project to make them look as good as they can. And I have a niece who volunteers and does hair at a funeral home down in Texas. So there's so many different ways to do it. And most people don't know what is involved.
Yeah.
And they might choose differently.
Yeah, and what's so great is that you have people who truly love what they're doing, who love putting the makeup on, who love doing the hair, and it's like a calling, because it's such a precious gift you're giving not only the individual who has passed, but the family. And I think that commitment is just a beautiful gift.
I'm friends with a woman who started as an artist before she became a funeral director and mortician. And yeah, she loves doing that, the makeup that makes them look the best they can. Speaking of makeup, our next clip is from My Girl, 1991, where the girl is growing up in a funeral home. In this scene, Jamie Lee Curtis plays the new cosmetologist on staff at the funeral home, and Dan Aykroyd is the funeral director. Let's take a look at this. One of the things I find interesting about this scene, that she's made her up to look livelier than, you know, how she looked in life. And I think it speaks to the uncomfortableness that people have when they do go to a funeral home and they see somebody who's made up and they don't look like themselves. I've experienced that a couple of times at different funerals. Any thoughts about that?
Well, I had a personal experience when my mother died. My mother was a ranch woman. We grew up on a ranch, and so she was a ranch woman. She was a gardener. She was down to earth. She was beautiful. And I don't know, when the casket was opened, she had on red lipstick, and she had red fingernail polish, which my mother had never had fingernail polish in her entire life.
Oh, wow.
And I'm going, wow. Well, that's different. I don't think I would have done it that way. But and I don't know if anybody made the decision to do it or if that just happened. But they just made her a little spiffier, they thought, I guess. So
just like in this film clip, yeah.
Just like in the film clip,
Yeah.
yeah, just like that.
Yeah, I've had the same experience in of where they've embellished their makeup and where it wasn't, and it was a shock to most people who saw that, and it was uncomfortable. And then the feedback, even from a family member, saying, "Oh, she looks like she's asleep." It was a softer makeup. It was what she looked like in real life, and so, yeah, I think pushing the boundaries of cosmetology in preparing the body needs to be a discussion.
Yeah.
I don't think
probably when the arrangements are being made, that the family would really need to emphasize we would like him or her to look as natural as, they did in life.
Yeah.
Don't try and fix them up.
And no red nail polish.
Yeah.
Although my mom said that was her final party, so maybe that was what it was all about.
Well.
Perhaps that was maybe that's what instructions she left. Maybe. I don't know.
We have another clip from the TV series 6 Feet Under. All of 6 Feet Under is blocked on YouTube, so you'll just have to stream it or get the DVD set to watch this. In the last season, the Nate Fisher dies, spoiler alert, sorry, and his brother David is washing his body in the prep room. And he is doing this for a green burial. So this is more of a natural approach to preparing a body for burial. So you can see just how stressed and sad this family is. I mean, it's unexpected death. He wants a green burial. The mom, so she was the wife of a funeral director, and people need a viewing, but in this case, he wants a green burial, didn't want the embalming. But you could also see that he had organs donated, the incision and whatnot. So tough for the mom to come in and have to deal with more of a natural burial after conventional funeral directing was her life.
Yeah. And I also thought it was very touching that when she went to the body, how she washed his hair, which is almost the first thing we do to our babies is give them a bath and wash their hair. And I've seen natural burial funerals where people are involved in the cleansing of the body and the wrapping of the shroud and decorating it, and it's a very loving, and I saw that even though the pain was there, that she couldn't have her viewing and her traditional way of being. Just that moment of stroking his hair and washing it was just sweet.
Yeah. And like he said, you can view him now. Look at him now, and in a very much a natural condition. Yeah.
I think people just need to, if they're talking about natural burial or they're talking about home funerals, they just need to have a good discussion about that because it's a very intimate process. It's much more intimate than picking up the phone and calling the funeral home to come pick up the body. And so I think the conversation, always the conversation. Yeah. But it's a beautiful, intimate process the times I've observed it.
Well, and one of the other clips that we have in the prep room, our last one, is actually going into the prep room for a Jewish washing ceremony called the Tahara. The Hevra Kadisha, which means Holy Society, are volunteers, people like you and me, and I am one of them, who goes into the back room of the funeral home to help wash the bodies of Jewish women. Women do it for women, men do it for men. This clip comes from the opening of the 2007 film My Mexican Shiva. And so the patriarch of this family has died. And we are showing you, interspersed with the credits, what the Hever Kadisha does to prepare a body, washing in, before they get to dressing it. Let's watch this. So this is actually what gets done in a tahara. The body is cleaned physically, and then the pouring of the water is a ritual for the ritual cleansing to prepare for the burial. But it's very thorough, the ears, under the nails, and the egg there at the end is something I had never seen before, but apparently in some cultures it's representative of the cycle of life. So, and it is an opportunity for ordinary people to encounter the dead and to help with their preparation for burial. But it is, like I like to say, Jewish burial is naturally green burial because there's no embalming, and the shrouds are cotton or linen clothing, and should be done within a couple of days based on the old biblical commandments as well as just practicalities if you don't have refrigeration in a hot, arid climate. So that is our show today about what you see in the prep room. Just a reminder, we have a contest going on here with Mortality Movies. Our opening and closing credits are a collection of film and TV clips. And if you can identify the sources of all those clips and send me your list to gail@agoodgoodbye.com, you can win this fabulous t-shirt that says, talking about sex won't make you pregnant, talking about funerals won't make you dead. So start a conversation today.
Hey, I'm going to buy you these books, I think, because I think you should read them, you know, instead of that cat book.
That's pretty serious stuff there.
Yeah, because I'm obsessed with death, I think. It's a big subject with me, yeah.
Death, to die, to expire, to pass on, to perish, to peg out, to push up daisies, to push up posies, to become extinct, curtains, deceased, demised, departed, and defunct.
I'm watching Cocoon. The spaceship is taking the old people into space. That's the happy ending for old people.
If only were that easy, huh?
Yeah, I remember seeing this in the theater 30 years ago. But it's a whole different thing when you're in the demographic.
So bad.
It's like a Black Mirror.
So bad.
Yeah, it is.
Well, I think it looks like death.
David,
it looks like mourning. I mean, it looks...
Every movie in every cinema is about death. Death sells.